All right.
Hey!
I was going to say something just before.
We are grateful you didn't.
To keep quiet.
Good morning. It's Monday.
Yes.
2 days after Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was forcibly ejected from
Okay, today's
the 26th, so 2 days ago, 52 years ago today, yes. But
the evil forces decided to strike.
And I've been asking questions. Will Dr. Kwame Nkrumah be happy with what we have done with this 6-year development plan?
I speak as a spokesperson. Certainly no. Emphatically no.
Will he be happy?
Will be no. I'm sure he's turning in his grave.
With how we have maintained and nurtured and improved on the infrastructure that he created.
Have we maintained anything?
I'm
really?
asking. Okay,
No.
as spokesperson, no.
Yes,
okay.
he's speaking through me
Will he
today.
be happy with how we have mortgaged
the
the country on every side?
Not at all.
Okay. Should he come back?
He should. He wants to. Unfortunately, God has not given him that opportunity. But if we pray, if there are any prophets or pastors who think they could actually resurrect, the person we would need to resurrect in this particular time, maybe, is Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Let's send the witch catcher.
To come and just remind us of what the vision really was.
But reincarnation is real.
It
is. So you can come back.
You can come as what?
Come back and become a president. I mean,
come through
we believe in
come through you.
We probably would. At this point in time, we need someone who stay clear to the vision that was set out and, executed through and through with that political callous.
Are we saying that
just
of
the
all the
passion.
presidents that have come after Kwame Nkrumah, from Dr. Buzia to all the military leaders to Dr. Hailan Jerry Rawlings, we have not found a replacement for him yet. President Kufuor,
no, I don't think
President
so.
Mills,
I don't think
President Anado. We have not
I
found
think
a
they've been
replacement
able to just catch on a few of the plans, but not in totality what this man embodied. That's what I think. I mean, they've done well. Each and every one of them has played a role in making Ghana what it is now, but totally they haven't really played a significant role like he did.
Johnny, let's take a look at even a simple, okay, I call it a simple fight because our leaders are just knocking their heads together trying to find a solution.
Right.
The fight against insanitary conditions. Okay, what do we find our leaders do? What they do are just bits and pieces of confusion. Someone comes and said how do they call it? Is it monthly cleanup or what?
Yes.
National sanitation. Another person comes and says, let's set up sanitation marshals. Another person comes and says, I mean, it's simple sanitation. Simple sanitation.
Seems to be invading us.
Right. Why?
But if one man could do it.
Yesterday, I was listening to this guy on TV, and I guess he was making a lot of sense. He said, look, why are we struggling with sanitation? When we pay our army officers, what do we pay them for? When was the last time the Ghana army went to war? So we pay them to go and sit at the barracks. Is that not it? Right.
That's a good question.
Then he said, the national service persons, what do they do? Why do we post them to go to certain private institutions which the state directly do not get any benefit, or if at all, just some peanuts? Now, so he said, look, get 40 national service persons. Let's zone Accra, Kanda. Let's put 50 of them there.
Okay.
Then he said, add 5 army officers. Every morning, they move from house to house. Make sure that you do the right thing. Your garbage is left where it should be. He said in 6 months, this problem of insanitary conditions will be over. In Nkrumah Circle, I'm saying that it took one person to make Nkrumah Circle what it is. So why are we sitting there and behaving as if sanitation? So Nkrumah will laugh at us.
You see, right? In Nigeria, this military idea that you're dropping in is effective in Nigeria.
Yes.
When you're having the national sanitation days, no matter who you are, you either stop and be part of it, or if you move your car, they will stop you if you don't have a pass. If you're coming to do maybe a TV program, then you need to show, your editor needs to give you a note to say that
indeed
you are working today. But you don't have a free pass to say, oh, I'm not part of it.
Do you know that our rural communities are cleaner?
They are. They are.
The problem is in Accra, Kumasi, Takrady, Sekondi, Tamale, Bolga, Wa, and the rest. If you move into the rural community, they are cleaner.
And you think even people in these areas are literate and educated, and so they should handle their sanitation better.
In the central region, Asinkushia. It's about
Sam Jonas
Sam Jonas Prajinsem. That is the cleanest cleanest
because
village
he's
I've
taking
seen.
the
And you
action to fight.
I salute him this morning, Nana Nyankwada. I salute him this morning because of how he has taken action. And you see, he has created his own wonderland there. So you will find the river flowing nicely. You will find, peacocks. You find ducks,
and this can be
crocodiles, and it's done in a whole wonderland. So when you go there, it's so refreshing to be around there.
And yet we are struggling. So
I think the whole
and now what he wants to do is to even have ducks and chickens so that every child in the community can have an egg a day for free. Well, this is a visionary leader in a small corner. Yeah. This is what he's done. So the examples are there for us to follow. We have failed.
Exactly. Elvis, good morning. I was listening to you yesterday. I think you made a lot of sense in that.
And also the whole mentality that government should do it, should be eradicated. It starts from us.
That is
the parents. See, the parents feed that to the children. The children grow up with it. When I was growing up as a boy, I lived at Abosokan. My dad would rally all of us by 5 a.m. and we will sweep our house, sweep the pavement, and sweep the first lane of the Winneba Highway. Sweep off all the sand, gather it, and take it off. Today, it doesn't happen.
You get it.
Who would do that? Nobody does that. Yes,
anyway,
we always will say
there's no
you see, my father did that. It got so popular that even when the Zoomla and the street sweepers got there, they knew that when they got to our place, they didn't have to sweep.
Right.
So they just jumped.
There is no leader to keep persons with that spirit to go on. Okay,
we don't have it.
We don't have that kind of leadership.
But we hope it comes back. But George has all the news for us this morning, guys.
News is up next on your favorite morning show, New Day. Thanks for staying on to our very first story. The Millennium Challenge Corporation has expressed its gratitude to President Akufo-Addo for his exemplary role in finding a lasting solution to the political impasse in Togo. Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC, Jonathan Nash, said his outfit was considering investing in Togo but had to postpone it because of the ongoing political crisis in that country.
Jonathan Nash made this known when he paid a courtesy call on President Akufo-Addo ahead of the meeting of the National Governors Association of the United States of America, where the president will become the first African leader to address 50 U.S. governors. He said, due to ongoing political crisis in Togo, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC, had to halt an investment initiative in Togo. He added, the MCC will consider this decision if the situation in Togo improves. President Akufo-Addo was optimistic the political crisis in Togo will be solved.
We're brothers, we are family, the people on both sides of the border are basically the same people. But nevertheless, we're now nation states, so you can imagine the burden that imposed on the Ghanaian exchequer. So we have a very real interest in seeing to order and stability there. We're doing the best that we can.
Residents of Bonsanho have for several years expressed worry about the lack of potable water, access to healthcare and poor roads in their area. But following stories aired on TV3's Mission, David Vondi, a former MP aspirant in the area, has constructed and commissioned a borehole worth 15,000 cedis to solve the water situation. And here's a report by my colleague Spencer Kwabena-Mensah.
Water has for more than a decade now been a scarce commodity at Bonsanho in the Atimokwa district of the Central Region. The only source of potable water constructed during the Rawlings regime broke down more than 10 years ago and has since not been attended to. Pupils walk several miles to get water before and after school, an activity they say affects the academic work.
I walk a mile before I fetch water to go to school.
How does it affect your schooling?
Because I didn't go to school on time because the water is far away from our houses. So this water contains a lot of germs, which causes some diseases to us, and it is not good for us.
But The good news is that a former MP aspirant and humanitarian, David Vondi, has responded to the story head-on mission with an intervention that would alleviate the water challenges at Bonsahon. At a mini deba at Bonsahon, he indicated that as a native of the district, he shares in the challenges of the people. Commissioning the project, David Vondi was sure that the borehole would promote the standard of living of Bonsahon people.
Having seen your documentaries showing that there are problems of water here, I thought that it was on me to, assist and get water for them to drink, because water is life. I've suffered these kind of things before. Those days when we were here, and it was terrible.
He added that his NGO, David Vondi Institute, is poised to support the marginalized in the districts and beyond.
It is not only that you will become an MP that you can help your community, you can still help your community whether you're an MP or not. So I am not fighting for political, favor. I'm doing this because it must be done.
The secretary to the chief of Bonsahon was grateful for this intervention.
About 700 to 1,000 people who are the beneficiaries of this water have also been prevented from waterborne diseases like onco, which provides blindness. So we are very sincere and grateful to Mr. Bondi for his kind gesture.
We also thank the management of TV3 for exposing our problems to the whole world.
After marking time for over a decade now, their dream has finally become a reality. The issue of attracting diseases from unhygienic drinking water shall become a thing of the past. Now, pupils could quickly get water for their families and get to school every morning.
Meanwhile, when the mission team first visited the community in November 2017, some pupils at the Bonsahon school studied in a bad learning environment because of the collapse of their classroom block at the beginning of the academic year. But the assemblyman of the area assured the mission team during our second visit that a temporary structure would be raised in a month's time for the kids and claimed building materials were ready. A month on, there is no sign of the said construction, leaving academic work still unattractive. In a related development, the poor roads in the area continue to affect healthcare delivery and agriculture. 10 patients, including pregnant women, had already died as a result of lack of transportation to transfer them to a nearby town to get emergency health care. Also, bags of cocoa beans and food produce had been destroyed in the community owing to lack of transportation. On our third visit, the issue has still not gotten any better, and with the onset of the rains, the people fear the problem would worsen. Spencer Kobnaboati Mensa, TVC News, Bonsahon.
Obviously, a great news for residents of Bonsahon. Just so you know, we exist because of you. And still in the region, the building house in the Infantima Municipal Education Directorate in the Central Region is in a bad state. Worried staff are calling for government intervention to avert any future disaster. Lucy Ayambile's report.
Situated at Salt Pond and established in the 1980s, the story building housing the Ghana Education Service is in a sorry state. Deep cracks have developed all over the walls. The concrete parts holding the pillars are gradually peeling off, exposing the iron rods.
The cracks are now developing, wider faults here and there. But since we don't have any place to go, we are occupying in it now.
The situation poses a threat to staff as they fear workers could be hit by falling debris.
We don't feel comfortable at all because it's something like a death trap. But there is nowhere for us to stay, so we need to. We can't say that we will not come because of this.
Martha Aqua is the Director for Education for the Infantiman Municipal.
If nothing is done about it, the damage will be more. So if something can be done now, I think it will benefit all of us. And whatever money will be spent on it will not be very high. But if we leave it, as time goes on, it will keep on deteriorating and we may have to spend more money in getting it right again.
Some staff members noted the building is situated on an earthquake zone, making it dangerous for habitation.
On to a rather sad development. 3 years after their birth, 2 of them have not been able to walk due to their malnourished condition. Lucia Yambila brings us the story of a quadruplet at Aguna Stredo in the central region whose parents are struggling to give the children a better life.
Born 3 years ago at the Aguna Stredo Government Hospital, life has not been easy for the family of these quadruplets. According to doctors' reports, Gabriel, Godwin, Gilbert, and Gabriela are suffering from malnutrition.
I'm still working on trying to get some funds, mobilizing some funds, for them. The way the situation is, we cannot leave them like that. The lady was an apprentice. She was a seamstress, but because of the situation, she can't work anymore.
The poor financial status of the parents would not allow them to give of their best to their kids in terms of seeking medical attention and other social needs.
It has not been easy catering for 4 children whose health conditions are not encouraging.
According to their parents, even though they would have loved to enroll the quadruplets in school, their financial status makes it impossible to do so. Gilbert is the worst affected. At age 3, he can neither crawl nor stand, not to talk of walking. The condition has been a great worry to their parents, but he sometimes tries to mention some words. We followed them to their rented apartment the next day after spending time with them at their grandmom's place in Bebianiha, a suburb in Aguna Stredo. As usual, their father, James Pepra, who works with his master as a welder, has to help in their daily routine before he leaves for work. Diana Miranda told us she cannot work because of their condition. She appealed for both financial and material support from spirited individuals and corporate bodies. Lucy Ayambila, TV3 News, Aguna Stredo.
If you are touched by this story, you can come here at TV3 and do some donations, and we'll as well take it to them and put a smile on their faces. And now let's move to the development that is making all the headlines, where some security experts have linked the allegation of sexual abuse against Ghanaian police peacekeepers in South Sudan to low morality. This follows the withdrawal of a 46-member contingent protecting civilians at the biggest internally displaced camp at Wau, South Sudan, for further investigations on the alleged sexual abuse.
The United Nations and the United Nations Mission in South Sudan, UNMISS Code of Conduct prohibits sexual relationships with vulnerable individuals, including all beneficiaries of assistance. The Saturday directive was based on information that the 46th contingent of Ghanaian Formed Police Unit, FPU, at Wau were allegedly engaged in sexual relationship with women in the camp. UNMISS then informed the UN headquarters in New York, after which an investigation into the incident began.
I know the police administration would by now have been embarrassed by these allegations, whether proven or unproven, because the sort of hard work that has been put into all these things, they would have to sit up now and ensure that henceforth people who are deployed are of the highest standard, to ensure that people that are then disciplinary-wise were not deployed to the ground.
If you go into the nitty-gritties of who are even deployed, there's a lot of who you know. I mean, and it's always almost becoming the highest bidder at the expense of other officers, well-performing officers in the country, who would want to have a taste of how these peacekeeping missions go.
South Sudan, which won independence from Sudan in 2011, descended into civil war in 2013, months after President Salva Kiir fired his deputy, Riek Machar. Tens of thousands of people have been killed, and a third of the population have fled their homes. The United Nations has 6 civilian protection sites across the country, housing some 204,501 people. UNMISS comprises over 17,000 peacekeeping personnel, including 13,000 soldiers and 1,500 police officers. The Ghana Police has since 2015 contributed over 500 personnel in 3 batches, with the last switch between troops occurring on January 31 this year.
As we always do, we keep an eagle eye on this development and keep you posted in our subsequent bulletins. But that's it by way of news this morning. Many thanks for making time with us. You can log on to our website, 3news.com, for more news updates. I'm Josh Quinn. A very good morning.
Let's keep you updated on what has been happening over the weekend. I'll start off with Daily Heritage. It says Jida Roth jailed Asibe to appeal sentence. Abuga Pele to spend 6 years in prison. Also, minority MPs console family of late Super Ori. Chief Imam's office petitions minister over attacks of Fulani headsmen. And these are the stories carried by Daily Heritage. But the Jida Roth, I mean... people seemingly are happy that there's finality to the fact that we all knew that Jida, which has now become YEA, had undergone some rot. But as to whether the sentences they are to serve is actually deterrent enough for other people holding similar positions or not. But
look, I have always had this idea that what it takes to fight this monster we call corruption is simply that political will to do it. Abuga Pele and Asibit have been jailed. That's what the law says. Now, how were they jailed? Did we have a special prosecutor? It took the then government, after investigations by a journalist, to get this case to go to court. I still think that even with a special prosecutor, we need to have that political will to get our own, to face the law when we deemed them to have gone against the law. Other than that, we would have a special prosecutor with all the powers, with all that he or she needs to work with, and yet certain people who are deemed to have gone against the law will still be walking free. And I'm happy. So for me, it is a lesson for the politician, a two-way lesson. The civil servant, the politician who is engaged in any practice, even the private person, businessman or woman, who is engaging government in a business venture, should be careful. And I am saying that those who are doing businesses should take a closer look at the regulations and rules under which they are working. If you take a look at the issues, what happened, there is so much that is wrong with our institutions. That is why these persons are falling foul of the law. So they should be careful. Take a look at what you're doing. Don't forget that, look, the country is wide awake. The fight against corruption is now at a very high level, and every lens will be taken to look at what you do. Let's hope it serves out the kind of sentence, the example we want people to
I think also that, I mean, for every offense, there's a base and there's a ceiling. So the judges will decide, you know, what sentence is deterrent enough. If you look at what sentences are supposed to run concurrently, and so you may not have the years multiplied, but you know, they're serving the same. I hope that it serves as a deterrent. But I'm not happy with the political twist a lot of people are trying to put on it. I read somewhere alleging that Honorable Neil Van der Poel had said that, well, where NDC will win power in 2020 and bring up Abuga Pele out. I thought it was unfortunate, if that's true anyway. And he goes on to make reference to, you know, Dana Budakbi and Chachuchi Kata and back from 2001 to 2004. If we want to win the war against corruption, we want to make our country better. We're talking about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah here. Mr. KB Asante, bless his soul. Look at how hard he worked for Ghana. What does he have to show for it? Mr. Hesse, Kwesi Hesse. What does he have to show for it? A lot more people, Mr. Paul Ankra. What do they have to show for great service done to the nation? We can attest to the fact. Today, people get into politics, first year in parliament, and they have it all. Somebody becomes a DCE, 2-3 years. He has it all. He has a home. He has a 4x4 to his credit. So are people getting into the political landscape or getting into positions of authority just to enrich themselves, while the people they are supposed to be working for and protecting go poorer and poorer? It is an orientation of the mind, and we need to reorient ourselves. Let nobody put a political twist on it. If anybody does, it will be so unfortunate. We want to fight corruption. We gave, and you know, I am happy that this has happened, because these are people of northern extraction. That Jida Sada was created for the betterment of the lives of the people of the north.
Some people of the north.
Exactly. So if from within your own ranks, we have a project that's supposed to make you better, and it doesn't work, we must ask questions. It's a different thing if somebody from the south is picked and say, okay, go and deal with this matter, and it happens. It's a different thing. And I've heard people say, oh, they were framed and all of that. The bottom line is, you were given a mandate to achieve A, B, C, D. Were you able to do it? Why not? Okay, where's the money? Where did it go? What happened to the project? Those are the questions that I'm sure the court put up, because they were given a chance to have a fair hearing. And let nobody put a political spin on it. It will be very unfortunate that we do. And by that as well, we hope that there will not be witch hunting, you know, in a bid to fight corruption. Because while we do not want anybody to put a political twist on it, don't make it too obvious that we are chasing this person because he is on the other side of the political divide. That would be a shame.
Yeah. But I mean, that point has been reiterated, that that certainly will not be the stance of this current government. And we look out for it, because if it becomes like that, then really we're not fighting corruption, we're just witch hunting. But Johnny, let's put a twist to it and look at even the prisons in which these people are going to inhabit.
Beautiful.
I want to see a social, I mean, that social divide when it comes to the prisons taking away. See, every Ghanaian is a Ghanaian, whatever status you occupy. I don't see how, in quotes, there can be a VIP section of a prison as against another.
Oh, there is?
Well, we do know certain persons who have been there, been treated differently. See, nobody will wish anyone to be in the prison because of the conditions we see out there. And that is why we even know places as far as Guantanamo Bay in America has been closed down, because some of the facilities and some of the things that went down there, but up till now it's closed. And whatever it is, some sanitary conditions don't work for human beings. You can't take away the fact that there are human rights, basic human rights that have to be protected. And so I want to see that as these people go there, over time, the prison should just be reformed so that it suits everybody. Yes, you're in for, you know, an offense committed, but certainly we don't want you to reform you. But when you go there and you demoralize the person, make them actually hardened, they come out worse with better strategies of duping the country.
People go to the prisons. I mean, my dad had opportunity to head most of the prisons in the country. And people get into the prisons and they come out, they're either blind, they are poor sight, they are malnourished, or they are weak.
They're terrible.
So you're actually brought home to come and die, literally. They're just a handful who come out of prisons and are better because their families, you know, get them, and because they are properly reintegrated. But the prisons is even far too stretched. Let's look at our police cells. The police cells. When the Kwabenya incident broke, I had the opportunity to get some pictures of what the cells look like. It was nasty. Dirty,
Johnny,
smelly,
a lot of police officers, if I should put it like that, look unappealing. You don't even want to
crowdy,
walk in. Yes,
stuffy,
I must be honest.
scruffy.
I mean, if I have an issue with somebody, the likelihood of me wanting to go to a police office to actually report it just because of what I foresee, I won't go.
You see,
I must be honest.
You see,
I'll tell you on the street, if I have a police friend,
people put a twist on it to say that, sorry, but the police are not as clean as the military. I disagree. I disagree because if you have not properly resourced them, for example, the police station is supposed to be a property of the state. So the state is supposed to buy paint, for example, employ painters to do it. If they cannot, they can mobilize the men, the policemen, to do the painting, buy them the paint. That's not supposed to be our responsibility. There are cracks. Buy them cement and let them use their estate office to do the plastering and all of that. You don't buy it for them. The water closet in the cell breaks down. Must the policeman use his money to buy them? So while we want to put them to strict proof. You must also provide for them. Look, I challenge anybody, apart from those police stations that have been built by philanthropists at East Legon and other places, go to any other police station from Osu all the way to Nungwa. Go and check. To Kaneshi everywhere. So dirty. So dirty. And so even if you are suspected, and I always say, like, look, we can all be victims. If you go to the police today and tell them that we have raped you, the first thing the police will do will come and pick us up.
Yeah.
Now, I have not done, I'm only a suspect. They pick me up and they put me in that environment as a suspect. It's so dehumanizing,
and then later
demoralizing.
You found out.
You are found out not to have done 48 hours in a supposed S-hole.
But well, a weather forecast coming in from the Ghana Meteorological Agency is saying, this is a 24-hour forecast for Ghana, valid from 7 a.m. today. A moderate thunderstorm and rain-bearing cloud over the mid and coastal portions of Togo and Benin is likely to sweep across the country, mostly affecting places in the middle sector from the morning through the late afternoon, with thunderstorms or rain. The weather will therefore be cloudy over the entire country for the most of the forecast period. But just to note that the state of the sea is calm. So do be rest assured, but also watch out for the rains or thunderstorms. Maybe carry your umbrella and make sure you have someplace safe to hide in case the rains pour today.
I hear
so
that in
likely
Ghana,
in Accra?
Yes. In Accra. It's
Just
all over
pretty
the country.
much, yes. Over the whole country.
So it will be cloudy.
Yesterday it was in part of the Ashanti region.
But even yesterday,
even on Saturday, it was cloudy.
Yes,
cloudy.
It's interesting. What the weather people should tell us is how the pattern is going to be, because even in the Upper West region, that they were expecting rains in May.
Right.
There were floods last week over the weekend.
Yeah.
So it put farmers at a huge disadvantage because
Exactly.
they're not sure as to whether to start
to plant or to
and
hold
the
on.
rains will continue or they should wait. So I think a lot more of
and it will have an
clarification.
impact on the economy because if we don't take care, we may never plant, and if we
and
don't
then
have food stock,
the rains
you know,
will
knowing
stop.
that the buffer stock is supposed to take care of the free SHS feeding, the school has started, so a myriad of activities.
All right.
Amma is listening to her.
But we are ranting and we're talking about the Corruption Perception Index. Well, it's been quoted out there that Ghana doesn't seem to be doing too well, but what do you take over that? Let's rant with George Quinn in this morning.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
Ghana has recorded its worst performance in the last 6 years in its fight against corruption. That's according to the latest Corruption Perception Index by Transparency International. And the country, dropped 3 points from a 2016 score of 43 to 40 in 2017, and also ranked 81 out of a total of 180 countries. And there have been some interventions by government. We can talk about the paperless transaction at the port and the Special Prosecutor's Office. The prosecutor, Martin Amidu, has been sworn in. And so let's anticipate that the interventions would yield some result. Who knows, the rankings might show up in the near future. But the question is, are we losing the fight against corruption? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
It's too bad. I'm very shocked looking at it, that Nana promised fighting corruption to the minimum, and this is what we are recording, and I'm very shocked. I expect the government to do better than what we saw in terms of corruption, because it's like it's not like they don't know what they are doing, or the index is wrong, because you and I know we have a lot of things that need to be fight, and then we know the results. Example is the toll scandal, the premise scandal, the the cash for seat, and a whole lot. I can go on and on and on, and all that we see is the president clearing them.
Talk about cash for seat. Who were the first people to start that process? Is it
looking
not
at
your
the
government?
You are always looking at
I'm
the first
coming. I'm
people.
coming.
The first people were there. We told Ghanaians that what the first people were doing is wrong.
Looking at the
When we
corruption,
come,
index,
we will
that
correct
is
it.
why Nana said, okay, we have it in our manifesto that fine, we are bringing in a special prosecutor in order to fight corruption. We agree. Corruption have been with us even since creation.
Okay.
By looking at the rate at which the NDC government, especially under the Mills Mahama administration, looking at the
how have we tackled the
corruption,
previous corruption scandals?
how can
before
you brand
even
a whole car, bus, about less than 20 buses and $1.3 million?
Aside all those things,
I'm coming.
It is. They weren't
that is-
rated
that is-
the worst performance in 6 years.
I'm coming.
Okay,
so I'm coming.
For me,
When did the NPP come in power?
In just 1 year, you have recorded
in
the
just
worst
one. So
performance
previous
in
year,
just a year. In just a year.
That we agree. That is why we have the special
What I'm saying is,
prosecutor.
I'm
So
not
see what
shocked
will
about
happen.
this because President J. Kufuor told us that he will fight corruption. At the latter part, he told us, oh, corruption.
And he fought it.
He told us corruption started
The
from Adam.
first
He
instance
gave
was
up. He
Malam.
gave up.
Can we know Malam?
Can we take off?
And it was Nana. Nana
Can
at
we
that time.
take
Nana
off
was
the political
Attorney-
lenses
Attorney
and let's
General.
be
Or
plain
Minister
about
of
this?
Justice.
We are not using any political lens. No,
the fact
is, it is true. We have lost the corruption fight. That's the question I wanted to ask. Do you think we've lost In it? just a year, we have lost it. I was saying, Agroveso Efri Anopa. We say we want to fight corruption, so we are bringing a special prosecutor. It has taken us a whole year to get a prosecutor. But between that period, there have been series of corruption scandals. How have we tackled it? The only answer we've got to, the president tells us he's not aware.
Look at what you are saying. Look at what you are saying.
Look,
see, it's not aware. No.
We get
the fact is, I'm coming. I'm coming. No. You can't say that. Look at what happened under Mahama administration.
No.
Awarding a contract to whatever. Your brother is a sole this thing of all contracts.
I find it difficult.
How can it
I
happen?
find it
under
difficult
this country?
if we always have to politicize in terms of this corruption index. You understand?
government.
Corruption. If we know what corruption is doing to us as Ghanaians, I don't think we will politicize it. It's not NDC MPP.
But
Massa,
what? But what?
it's about Ghana. Because if the money, you understand, if the money has been, the money that has to be used for you and I is being taken by one person, then we know what is actually happening. You see, we don't have to politicize it.
When we talk about corruption, we have a mindset that it's only in government. When you look at the private sector, it's there.
Yeah.
As you are standing there, you are a licensed surveyor. Are you getting
That
it?
is why we are
What?
saying,
I'm
have we lost the fight? We have lost it.
Corruption is
Whether
everywhere.
in the private sector or in the
But
government
no,
sector, we
that
have
is
lost
why,
it.
That is why this government have made it it's a focal point for them. That's what they will
They are
fight
going to
it.
fight corruption.
That is why we
But in
have
a year-
the special
but in the first year of their-
according to a local chapter of Transparency International, they brought out the index, and for them, it's not too good. The rating is not too good, but they anticipate that it will be good when the interventions that have been put in place would yield results. We know the special prosecutor office, and then the prosecutor has been sworn in.
Yeah.
And so maybe in the next 2-3 years,
Exactly.
maybe things will
That
change.
is, that is what we are all expecting.
that.
You see,
And
nobody is expecting Manti Amidu to fail. You see, because at the end of the day, it is Ghana money. So whether MPP or MPP is going to affect Ghana.
We
You understand?
are
So
the
once we
corruption
put the special prosecutor at work and is working for Ghana and we are recouping our money, it is good for us.
At least
You
it will
understand?
shut up the
Martin
ratings.
is not
I
going
think
to
so.
start. We are going to investigate all previous contracts, whatever has gone on earlier, before the NPP came in power. We are going to investigate and prosecute. That is it. We are going to fight.
This is where
in the
MPP
sense that
always get
I'm
it
coming.
wrong.
In the
You
sense that
understand?
you don't say that
you are going
now
to
that we are
previous-
going to start fighting.
previous-
Oh, but you can't tell me
We
that
will investigate
if
and
the
fight.
special prosecutor
Then-
is
then-
going to start work, he will just start from
No,
2020.
Yes,
At
that's
least
what I'm
we
saying.
can take all
Investigate.
dockets.
Looking at what he's saying, as
From
if
You can
he's
take
going
all
to-
dockets.
We are going to investigate from 2012. That is where.
Why 2012 and not maybe?
You understand?
Yes, exactly. Even we are fond of doing that.
We can open dockets.
Yes,
All
so
dockets.
exactly.
What I'm saying is
Exactly.
we should tackle
So-
corruption
so-
outside the realms of politics. So we are going to tackle corruption outside the realms of politics. We said we want to wait for the special prosecutor. When he comes, he's going back to maybe 2008.
We are not
to
waiting
start
for him.
to
we are
start
not waiting for the
persecuting
special
people.
prosecutor.
You have
We are
to
already
investigate.
fighting corruption.
He has to
Fighting
investigate.
we are fighting it.
Cases.
We have suspended our
upper. He has to investigate cases and then persecute them. At the end of the day, we will use the 4 years of governance to be investigating and persecuting, and we will not get anywhere. Currently, we even have corruption scandals moving around here. We've not done anything about it.
Which scandal?
We are just.
Which scandal?
Oh, we have
Which
the cash for.
It was investigated. The committee came out.
There's a good news out there. They've confiscated exhibits.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And Abu
Ghafele. So at least. So
one
is stepping one in 10.
And then Abu Ghafele case even started in 2013. Abu Ghafele's case started in 2013. What I'm saying is, currently we have lost it. If we want to do something, we shouldn't wait for Martin Amidu. We have the courts there. We should have started something even before the special prosecutor. I thought the special prosecutor would be someone where the case, in case there is too much for our lower courts, we go to the special prosecutor. We can start from somewhere and then we can kill corruption.
I mean, when you are analyzing issues,
every year has for the past 6 years, this is the worst record.
Exactly.
Just like they will say for the past 6 years, Ghana football has gone down. It's the same thing they are talking about. That's what I'm saying. So in 1 year, you have recorded the worst.
And it was in your governance. And in 4 years, what did you record?
It was bad, but yours has made it worse.
Oh, my friend.
According to the index, the best performing region was, Western Europe, with an average score of, let's say, 66. And then, Sub-Saharan Africa was bad, 32. So what do you think are the things we can learn from Western Europe?
You understand? I don't know. You know what? I don't know if the problem is about our color or our mentality. No, I'm being honest. You see, look at how we later around. Okay. When you go to the east, to the Western world, that is not what happened. And we are the same people who goes there to learn, and we come back and do the same things here. Why? What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? You've been given the opportunity to rule Ghana. It doesn't mean you have to milk the state. So it's about mentality.
The thing is it's by default. When you get there and then you see the money, you siphon the money. We shouldn't be hypocrites here.
It's self-discipline. We just have to discipline ourselves.
It's self-discipline.
And honesty.
There are people in big offices who are not taking brown envelopes. They've disciplined themselves. There are people who you come to their offices, they do what they are supposed to do for you without taking anything. It is self-discipline. It sounds up to you, the personality. When we all decide to be good, we all want to cut off corruption. If the policeman gets me, I want to take the policeman to the police station.
I'm coming.
Corruption, when
you talk about corruption, it starts from the scratch. That is from our primary school. Even from the primary school up to JSS, SS level. Even election year, when you are standing for SRC president and stuff, look at what is happening. Someone have to go and bribe the easy, and so it starts from there. And this is the time in our schools.
You understand
exactly. In our schools, I think we should start from our schools, especially the primary and the secondary and the tertiary. We should start from this because when you look at the universities, you go to TESCON. Yeah. It happens. I've been a student advocate when I was in school. I contested for PRO. But unfortunately, I didn't win.
Because you didn't pay.
Exactly. Because I didn't pay.
No.
And my friend, I'm telling you, that is why the corruption
you were doing bias policies. So that was why I didn't
with the mind.
Just like you are doing now.
With the mind. These two people, they are corrupt.
How can you?
Why am I saying they are corrupt? They will not talk about certain things that will benefit. Corruption, to fight corruption, I think it should start.
And that is what I'm saying. I said it is not from primary. What is primary? So what of those who are not in primary school? What of people who do not have have the chance to go to school?
Homeschooled, yeah.
Yes, it is self-discipline. It starts from the home. It starts from our churches before it even enters the school. Okay. What are our pastors and our imams telling us? Are they telling us about giving in church, or they are teaching us the moral values that that entails in the Bible or in the Quran? Okay. They are not telling us that. Okay. All they do is bring money, prosperity, success. That is all.
But that case and dealt with the judges.
We shouldn't be solely on Martin Amidu.
Who did that?
Let the courts work. Let other.
But you're questioning the credibility of the court. So
let us what do we call it? Let us renovate them. Let us make it powerful more. The judges who were involved in the allegations, what have been done to them? It is only a word of get off the bar or something. Even I don't think they've been off the bar. I think suspension or something. There are no strict measures to it. Atugujaba. What? Abedi Pele, the Abedi Pele saga. The Pele Abuga Pele saga. 6 years. Why wouldn't the next man also steal? Let the man refund the money. After refund, then you go 15 years.
But Asibit is refunding. He is telling his.
You understand?
It's refunding
Good.
the money. So
then you go for 15 years. You give somebody 6 years. 6 years is 6 years is just going for a vacation in Hollywood.
For me, I think the good news. You asked something about what we anticipate.
Good news. Yeah, the near
good news.
future.
For me, I think
if the measures are
as
we'll
this
have
government is in power, it should make sure it recoup the money with interest. It shouldn't be like you've stolen $50 million, so bring it back. We are taking with interest. Per whatever you've taken, the interest charge per annum should be added to it, so that it will put people on their knees, as well as make sure that people will be afraid whenever they want to touch the national coffers.
I only hope and pray that it will be better. Why am I saying so? I'm saying this because a lot of things, it's like now the benchmark is the special prosecutor. And he has been, by the grace of God, he has been sworn in. So we expect him to do the magic. We only expect him to do the magic. Because now, if you ask anything about corruption, it is the special prosecutor. Just like if you ask what is going on in the economy,
But you know you cannot
free
help,
SHS.
you cannot help
So
in the fight
we
against corruption.
it has to start from the home.
Yeah.
You understand?
Outside the
That is what I
police,
said from the beginning, that it has to be self-discipline
Yeah.
and honesty. That's the only way we can fight corruption in the country.
So it has to be self-discipline and honesty to fight corruption. Let's know your thoughts on that. Today's discussion has been on Ghana's worst performance in 6 years by the Corruption Perception Index. Log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's News on TV3, and on Twitter, it's News TV3. We came to you from Labadi here at Accra. Thanks for watching, and keep watching NewDay.
Right, and Daily Guide says Mahama cries again over free SHS and President tours U.S. Cathedral. Police deported over sex. The Statesman put it, Mahama lies exposed as Akufo-Addo clears big debts. The Free Press, NDC struggles for a message. A story captured on page 3. The Independent says, do not ignore Africa. President Akufo-Addo appeals to U.S. governors. And the Daily Graphic has it, President brokers peace in Togo, feuding parties to dialogue. Desist from acts that could jeopardize peace in Tamale. And Ghanaian peacekeepers in South Sudan confined over allegation of sexual exploitation. And that story also given prominence by the Times says that sex scandal hit Ghanaian peacekeepers as UN probes sexual abuse allegations. These are some of the pages I have with me on the newspapers. My guest this morning, a Deputy Communications Director of the NDC, Fred Agbonyo, is here. Fred, good morning.
Good morning, Bright.
And how's your Monday starting?
Well, the weekend was very, very busy. So we woke up this morning very tired, but we are still counting on God.
All right. God is with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start this morning to take a look at this story in the publisher. I want us to take it and see. The publisher has a story about the Abuga Pele issue. Today, newspaper also has it. NDC gurus accused of causing Abuga Pele's imprisonment. The publisher put it, NDC will free Abuga Pele, Neelante Vanderpoy. That's the Heritage puts the story as jailed Asibit to appeal sentence Abuga Pele to spend 6 years in prison. That's the those papers with that story on Friday. Now, Fred, let's start from here. How is the party taking this issue, the jailing of a former member of parliament. We've seen different angles. The publisher is saying that NDC will free Abu Gapeli. That is attributed to the member of parliament for the Odudu constituency. The Today newspaper says NDC guru is accused of causing Abu Gapeli's imprisonment. That's from his family. How is the party taking this?
Well, thank you very much, Bright. Let me say good morning to our cherished viewers. I think that nobody wish even his worst enemy to be in prison or to be kept in any cells anywhere in the world. And so for a very senior member of our party, somebody who have dedicated himself over the years to serving this party, to end up this way, naturally is something that pains everybody, that hurts everybody. Now, anybody who had opportunity of getting close to Mr. Abu Gapeli and who worked with him will testify that he was indeed a very committed member of the party and he served the party very selflessly. But we came into office with a particular background that we're not going to allow things to be done just anyhow. We believe in probity and accountability. We believe in people accounting for their stewardship. And so when allegations of the then president heard about some wrongdoings going on around Jeddah, a committee was set up to investigate the issue. Subsequently, it was taken to court. The issue lingered on up until last week, Friday, when the final ruling came. We sincerely sympathize with him. We sympathize with the family and the entire NDC family. God is not a man that you wish that a fate like this will befall him. I've heard his lawyers saying that, well, they want to appeal. We are all praying that the appeal process will favor him. So far, if you hear the charges that were leveled against him, they said he caused financial loss to the state, and also I think he abated in some crime activity. In fact, nobody said that he stole any money. Nobody said he directly picked any money that belongs to the state to use. And so I think that his lawyers should look at it again and see if they can go to appeal court, and we'll see how it goes. As to the angle of NDC
gurus being involved in this incarceration?
Well, to the extent that the process started at the NDC, you cannot say the party didn't know.
Yes, and that's what his brother is saying. He's asking that under which government was Mr. Pili dragged to court, and he says that my brother, tell me whose regime was my senior brother sent to court? Wasn't the tenure of the former president John Dramani Mahama? So what are they talking about? He asked. So the key thing is that because he was sent to court under the former president, it means that the NDC is behind it.
Right. You see, where we are now, it goes beyond just NDC. I think that we are building a nation. All of us agree that one of the things that's affecting us so badly is the fact that people don't do their work very well. People want to take advantage of the system. And former President Mahama really showed some commitment that he was interested in fighting corruption. He was interested in bringing light to bear on all corrupt activities. If you remember what happened at National Service, he had the information that some wrongdoing was going on over there. Quickly called the BNI and said, listen, move in there, do some investigation. Following that investigation, some persons were interdicted, some persons are still in contact to speak today. The Jeddah issue, like I said, it was his own initiative. I'm aware of the, I think, 2014 World Cup, where it was being televised live on national television. The commission was set up to investigate the entire Ruha, and they come out with a white paper was subsequently even issued. And so there were several things that were initiated just so we can bring about sanity in the country. You cannot say you are a lover of democracy and somebody who wants to fight, wrong in society. And then when it comes to your own people, you close your eyes at them and then you are looking at other people. I don't think that it works that way in any jurisdiction. What we did was a very bold decision that the president took at the time to send a very strong signal to all appointees that regardless of who you are, regardless of your party affiliation, if you are found culpable, the law will not spare anybody. And I think that was a mentality.
So this is a position of the NDC.
Which one is that?
That no matter who you are, if the law catches up with you, that's it.
I think that was demonstrated amply during our tenure in office. Several persons who some allegations were made against. The sad thing is that because we are in a democracy, we are not like in a military regime where people can easily constitute an arbitration and quickly, find you guilty and throw you. In some cases, they don't even try you at all. They just throw you themselves. Now we are in a democracy. And democracy, rule of law is the order of the day. People are allowed to go through the entire process. If you remember this particular case, I think they have thinking of about 4 good years. Right. They are their own lawyers. They went to court. The Attorney General also went on behalf of the Republic. And finally, this verdict has come. The point I'm making is that if we really want to fight the canker that is swallowing all of us up, then there must be that political will and commitment to say that irrespective of who is involved, once there's a wrongdoing, the fellow should be allowed to go through the due process of the law, and if he's found capable by the law, then the law takes its own course. Like I said, it is a very, very regrettable issue. I know Honorable Abokipele very well. I've even gone to his constituency in Paga to do some work with him over there. So he's somebody I know very well. When it comes to his commitment to the NDC party, his selflessness to serving humanity, it's not in question at all. But it brings something to the fore to all of us who are in public space, who are aspiring to occupy public office. That yes, it's not an office you are going to occupy in perpetuity. A time will come when you go, and once you are exiting, you need to account for your stewardship. Some of the things that they raise against him really are not things that directly he might have benefited from, but maybe he was not, should I say, very conscious about a few of the things. He didn't, due diligence in some cases. That is what has landed him in this. So I am very happy that he's not be accused of maybe stealing from the state as it were, but on this other technical issue. I've heard some people who have raised concern about this particular law of causing financial law to the states. Some persons have even said that we need to go back and look at that particular law again. Because what it does is that it kills initiative. People are very desirous. They want to do things. They want to see, status quo change, and so they want to do things differently. And if per that, later it turns out that some wrongdoing takes place and then you have to go to court, it becomes a bit problematic. If you look at what we see today, it is difficult for any public officer to say that he can work in his office.
Is it because it is against a member of your party? That is why you think we should go back and take a look at the law?
It has nothing
or you
to
think
do.
that there's something wrong with the law?
Brian, look at what we are today. NPP took office from NDC. Remember, we have several contractors on the road working. And I'll mention one specific road, the Eastern Corridor Road. Various sections of the road were awarded to contractors and they were working on. I remember the section between Hohwe and the Jessica area. Work was speedily going on. In fact, they haven't started the asphalting from Jessica towards Hohwe. Then a new government comes to office and said, okay, they are going to investigate the entire contractual agreement and all that. So they suspended the entire work. Now, if you go back to that road, the road is worse off than it was before. All the money that have been invested in getting the road to where it was before they came into office, now it's come back to zero. Can that also amount to causing financial loss to the state? Because in my mind, they still could have investigated whatever it is that they wanted to do using documentation without necessarily halting the work on the field. But they have done it. Can somebody go to court tomorrow and say that because you took that particular decision, you have, caused financial loss to the state, and so you have to face the law, as it were? And again, we are still in democracy. We are still growing. We need to test our laws. If we think that it's a good thing to do, it's a good law that will benefit all of us, then we can just
the NDC says that, well, it is a party that has a rule of law at heart. And so if one is found culpable before the law, the parties wish that that person is taken through the process. What do you then make of the statement by the Member of Parliament for Odududu that the NDC will win power in 2020 and free Mr. Abokipele?
Well, I think that I was with Honorable Nilant at Somanya over the weekend, and in fact, we didn't speak about this particular issue. I don't know where he granted the interview and said the things that have been attributed to him as of now. But I think that, like I said, NDC is a political party that believes in the rule of law. We are a very disciplined political party. Under no circumstances would we want to infringe upon the law consciously because we think that somebody from our stock is involved. As a political party, as a leadership of the party, we are meeting tomorrow, God willing. We have a fake meeting. I'm sure it's one of the issues that will come up. If the party have any decision or any comment to make on them, I'm sure officially we'll communicate that to the Ghanaian party. But of now, party leadership is yet to meet. We have not taken any decision on this particular issue. We have not spoken about it. And so I am unable to communicate what the official party position is on the subject. But like I said, I didn't hear Honorable Neil and Devan Apoy. I didn't know the context in which he spoke. I don't think that NDC has the political power. Even if you win power, we can arbitrarily say that because we have one political power, we are going to Nsewam to just go and set somebody free. We still will need to apply the laws if it's necessary. Like I said, these lawyers are doing what is useful to do now, to go and appeal against the situation. They are in court. Let's see how the appeal process goes. I don't think, unless, of course, and even this government can say, okay, along the line, want to grant a pardon. This is not the first time we have seen, especially political actors who find themselves against the wrong side of the law, being given some pardons to or be set free. So let's see how it goes. If it is a pardon is calling for that, maybe in future, when we come into 2021, we can consider that, well, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But as of now, party leadership has not taken any position on this particular issue. We are very sad about it. We know the family is very worried. The entire NDC family is very worried. We will continue to appeal to the family to be very calm. Let us allow the rule of law and allow his lawyers to do what it is that they can do. And we all pray that at the appeal level, we are able to get a good judgment for him, and maybe he comes back home to be with the family and continue his hard work. In fact, I was in Upper East recently, about a week ago, and we were all around trying to monitor the registration exercise. So, a very committed member, working very hard. I sympathize with the situation. I sympathize with the brother, the wife, and the children. But like I said, we are in a democracy. We can't allow things to just go anyhow. To the extent that the court of the land has spoken, all of us have a responsibility to respect that decision. Whether we agree or disagree with the decision, the only thing available to us now is to use that appeal process and see what comes out of that.
Grateful. Fred Agbinyo is a Deputy Communications Director of the NDC. My second guest just joined us, the Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports, Honorable Pius Hajide here. Good morning.
Good morning, my
Hope you're doing great.
By His grace.
Thanks for joining us. And we're just taking a look at the court ruling in the case, the Jida case, and Fred has just stated the position of the NDC. For the NPP and government, the question being asked is that with the right political will, we can fight corruption, and so with a special prosecutor in place, what is the commitment to allow the special prosecutor to do his work?
Well, thank you very much. A very good morning to you and my colleague and our cherished viewers. I'd like to, first of all, apologize for coming in late. I'm sure that you are aware that the New Patriotic Party has been busy over the weekend conducting elections in majority of the 275 constituencies. I was also asked to go around and help monitor and participate in the process. So I have had to drive from very far this dawn to join the program. You may explain why I arrived in your studios a bit late. I hope that your good self and our cherished viewers can forgive me and also indulge me to use this opportunity to congratulate the female national football team, the Black Queens. They made our country proud once again. Without doubt, we have established ourselves as the West African football champions. Their male counterparts, the Black Stars, won the WAFU tournament, and the women also just won the WAFU tournament. So without doubt, over Nigeria, over Cote d'Ivoire, over all the West African countries, we have established our superiority and have asserted ourselves that we are doing well at a sporting country. I have said yesterday that within our time, my Honorable Minister Isaac Esiama and my good self, it appears that the good old days for sports in general and for football in particular, especially traditionally disadvantaged football, like women football, like disabled football, are beginning to pick form. The under 17, the under 17. You won't do it. Let me. Never mind. That's the under 17, the maidens have qualified for the World Cup in Uruguay. The princesses, emphatic manner. I mean, huge goal differences, 10-0, 9-0. We have qualified to also go to France for the World Cup. We are hosting the African Women's Championship in November in Ghana. It is a host and win agenda, and it is clear that they can do it. And I'm using this opportunity to encourage our colleagues, the officials and management of the Black Queens, to continue doing what they are doing. As a ministry, as a government, we will continue to do our little bit. It shows that the investments we are making in our female national teams and all the national teams for that matter is beginning to yield results. And a good morning to my constituents of Ketu North in the Volta region and Sojaman in the Eastern region. Yesterday, on Saturday, it was a good battle from Enum, Boso, Apegusu, Pakadai, Akosomba, Timpoku, all the way to Jekiti. A very good morning to them. So we come back to the main issue under discussion. Mr. Abugapele and Mr. Asibit. There's little to say. The courts have spoken, and we all have to obey the decision of the court. It is unfortunate, and for me as a public servant, this seeks to remind all of us that we are going to have to be accountable for our deeds and misdeeds, and that we are here to protect the public purse and not to fleece the public purse. Yes, as public servants, we are at liberty to take initiative and be creative, but we are not at liberty to steal the people's money and plunder it and willfully cause financial loss to the state. It only means that we should be guided by the public good in whatever decision that we took. And it has been a long journey. I have had cause, and several other people in the country have had cause to complain that it didn't appear as though the position of the prosecution when the NDC was in power was strong enough, and that there was a certain lukewarm attitude, and it was a facade that let us create an impression that something was happening. And so they have been in court for how many years? Nothing seemed to have been coming out of it. And I think that with the guidance of the new Attorney General and with the assistance of the staff of the Attorney General's Department and so on and so forth, a new life of breath was brought up to the matter, because at the end of the day, the people's money is what we are talking about. And we are a country in dire need. We need money to be able to do free SHS. Healthcare was nearly collapsing. I mean, this is only but a developing country. We need to build more schools. And so we cannot afford to misuse or misapply or even embezzle public funds. And that is why I am particularly elated about the decision of His Excellency the President to pursue vigorously his campaign promise. And this is a pact he made with the people of Ghana, a social contract he signed with the people to institutionalize and establish the office of the Special Prosecutor. And true to his nature and character, somebody who keeps his word. And we can go, I give you a long litany of the promises he has given to the people of Ghana, which promises he is fulfilling. In accord with his nature, his government has actually established the office of the Special Prosecutor. And a couple of weeks ago, when he met us as deputy ministers and ministers, he didn't mince words when he said to us that, look, I mean, Martin is here, and I know Martin, and you know Martin, and he does not even contemplate any time that he will even ever, in his wildest of imaginations, even attempt a certain defense. And so we should all be guided. And this is somebody who is leading from the front as far as the fight against corruption is concerned. I mean,
so the government is not in any way to stop the Special Prosecutor from hauling anybody within its outfit to court?
Not at all. Not at all. And you would notice that, I'm saying that he's leading from the front, you will notice that, unlike in the past, even unsubstantiated claims of allegation that ordinarily people would assume that we should treat with contempt because no prima facie is established. His Excellency goes the extra mile to either get these matters investigated and whether somebody believes that the investigation process is not done well or not is another matter, because I cannot speak for the people who are mandated by our law.
That's why his critics says he has done the wrong thing by intervening in these instead of getting the proper bodies to do the investigation.
No, what he does largely is to insist that investigations are done. Okay, and so the CID, for instance, have had cause to investigate some of these matters. Of course, as a leader who appoints people to work for and towards you, it is also your responsibility to investigate some of these things yourself and be sure that, I mean, your perception about the integrity of the people is still intact. And so there is nothing wrong if at the level of the presidency, the president takes an interest in dotting every I and crossing every T and personally getting involved in making sure that I want to convince myself that these things are done the right way. I think that is how we should go. Otherwise, you leave. Otherwise,
the president should be doing that.
I'm saying that in my ministry, there are times that I am compelled to myself, even in addition to what other investigation, internal auditors and so on and so forth do. I believe that as leader, sometimes I call the file and go through it line by line myself. That is what leadership is about. It's not about sitting down and like our two people will say, what do we say with them reform, and you are just giving instructions.
But House, the NDC took Abu Gapele and Mr. Sibi to court. That should be commendable.
Well, I mean, it is not as though there's another option. And let us not be, for me, a mediocre people. For me, if my government took members of the government to court, it's a matter of course. It's the due process, it has to be followed. And so the people in a government cannot be treated differently from the general population. How is it that when an ordinary Ghanaian misconducts himself, engages in criminal activity, he can be taken to court? Right. That one, no government can be commended for it. But when members of governments misconduct themselves, engage in criminal activity, and they are taken to court, then the same system, who is now claiming that when they come back, they will free the person anyway, and I'll come to that, will take credit for going to court. But I just again established to you that for how long have this thing been in court? And you have monitored the attitude of prosecution. And I'm saying to you that the thinking of a lot of
something was wrong. Prosecution was not interested in
the position of the
deliberately slow down the process.
If you ask the ordinary Ghanaian today, they would tell you that it was a facade, that it was, oh, let us create the impression that we were taking action. But gentlemen, go home and rest. Nothing was going to happen. And I believe that. Are you
happy about the committee that investigated the cash for seat, where a committee could not produce a single report? A committee that was one entity produced two reports?
We can blame that on what I call parliamentary indiscipline on the part of a so-called minority that decided to constitute themselves into a minority report. That it is alien to our standing orders and our rules of engagement in parliament. It is not something that should happen. Yes, ordinary members or even as a group, you can generate a report. But it is not a report that is attached to another report, because there's no majority report and there's no minority report. What you do is that these are guiding documents that we all need to sit at the table to discuss and take decisions on. And in a democracy, the majority will have its way. Okay. And so you may have your points. You raise it at the table of men. You do not put your phone off. You do not say your lights have been out for 3 days, and so you cannot charge your phone, and you are incommunicado. And then at the last minute, you bring out a properly formatted document labeled minority report, introductory comments to which read that, oh, we are compelled to write this minority report. I mean, it doesn't happen in anywhere, and I haven't seen any. At least we are getting to how many years of uninterrupted parliamentary practice. The NDC has had, yes, the NDC has had several of these committees. I am yet to be told at any time that this new attitude of a minority as against a majority report came up. So let us put the blame where it actually is. The blame is squarely
as a facade to cover up something.
No, it couldn't have been a facade because this wild goose chase was started by the NDC. Unless you're saying that they started the facade. No, I'm
just asking.
But they started. They started this. They called. They first of all they said there was extortion. They have said my brother Okujeto is on public record. He said there was extortion, and then they went to Parliament. They moved away from the extortion, and then they said there was a levy, and then at the committee they moved away from the levy, and they were redefining a levy. But a levy is a matter of public knowledge. It's established in law and practice what a levy is, and they moved away from that. And then they know that they didn't have a case. So what do? Let's give a dog a bad name and hang it. Let's continue the rabble-rousing attitude, muddy the waters. So let's go and get our own minority report and so on and so forth. So that cannot be described as a facade, because if maybe it was started by the NPP and then knowing too well that they were going to have a majority, then maybe the logic can hold. But in the case that the NDC called for this and they know that the NPP was always going to have a majority on the committee, and they were going to have a minority, because you are overwhelmed in Parliament. You are, if you may, I don't want to say negligible, but work of Parliament could still proceed without the NDC. That's the point I want to make.
Not in all cases, you're aware of that.
Well, largely. I mean, we have absolute majority in Parliament. I mean, the last election was a humiliation, annihilation of the NDC. Okay, sitting president lost with almost 1 million votes, unprecedented. And so it was an annihilation of the NDC. But I'm saying that it cannot be described as a facade, because they started the process. They started and ran away from it.
Now, wrap up with you on
Honorable Neil Ante
yes,
who
he said that is not the party's position, and that he is unaware where Honorable Neil Ante might have said that.
Well, I can understand the discomfort of my brother. It's not everybody in the NDC who would admit some of this clear indiscretion. And if I may, my colleague, my senior colleague, former minister at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, I think that he needs to be advised to tone down a little. Some of his comments are quite unbecoming of a member of parliament and of a former minister. I mean, even in the area that we occupy now, as a Ministry of Youth and Sports, sometimes I find it quite uncomfortable, some of the pronouncements. I think that, admittedly, this is a comment that should not have been made. It is quite reckless, irresponsible. He doesn't have such powers. Honorable Neil Ante van der Poel, even if the NDC wins, cannot free imprisoned criminals. He doesn't have such powers. He shouldn't arrogate same to himself. And I think that it is unfortunate. I pray that yet tomorrow, my brother says the NDC will convene, and I'm sure these matters will come up. I think that the NDC should be bold in this matter and have the balls to condemn these clearly unfortunate remarks made by my senior colleague, Honorable Neil Ante van der Poel. Of course, he can make an appeal to the president now and future to consider granting pardon. But pardon normally would come from the attitude of the people who are in prison. If they show remorse and if they are able to willingly even return some of the stolen or misapplied funds and the benefits that may have accrued from what the court considers as a criminal conduct. If they, Martin says that he wants to recoup money, I am for that. If they show remorse and they begin to indicate that, well, some of the money is here, we can do this and all that, I would not be against the granting of pardon. But for the NDC, maybe he's motivated by what was done in the past. You remember former President John Dramani Mahama in the case of the Muntie tree, when clear intransigence and belligerence was even being shown, the man proceeded to, against all good counsel, grant a pardon. So maybe that is the motivation.
But that were powers given to him by the Constitution.
Well, so those powers can be misused, and in that case, these powers were not used wisely. In my
That's
view.
what you think.
In my view.
Right. I'm grateful.
I think that I am quite sad about this commentary. All of us are in public space. A number of times things that have been attributed to us that necessarily are not things that we said. This story that I attributed to Neil Amtevana point now, you don't know if indeed he made those statements or not. And so I thought I would have been a bit guided in the way you ran him down, the things to say about him. Maybe tomorrow or today will come out and say that I didn't say exactly what was quoted in the paper. That is what I said. Let me. Yes. So we need to be careful. When stories appear like this, sometimes we are talking about people's reputation. The things you said about him were not good at all. Should have said that. Most women have not heard from you directly. This is a newspaper account that we are all speaking about. Now, he made a statement that I'm really very sad about.
The fact producers will quickly get in touch with.
Yes, I think that he made a statement that I'm really very sad about. This whole issue of NDC took Abu Gapele and Asibi to court just as a cover-up. You were very
prosecution deliberately
slowed the process. What is he talking about? What is he talking about? No, please, you allow me. Who determines how long a case stays in court? Is it the President of the Republic, or is the NDC headquarters that the case determined? Are we the prosecutors? The fact that the President has the courage and the boldness to say, listen, this is what I've heard happening in my own government. Call to a committee and investigate it. Bring the report, put the report in the public domain. Attorney General, this is a report, take it, go to court. Can your government do anything like that? Can your president do anything like that? We are in this country. Various allegations. Various allegations. Yes, I agree. What we have seen so far, what we have seen so far from President Akufo-Addo, it doesn't give any Ghanaian any comfort. That is a man who really is ready to walk the talk.
Not even a special prosecutor.
Please. What is the agenda? All the things that we have heard under his watch. Look at the boss scandal. Look at the very embarrassing manner they went about it. Something happened at Bost. A whole sector minister set up a committee to investigate the issue. They brought on board people from all the major stakeholders on board. Then just before the committee could start its work, a report emanated from so-called BNI, whatever it is, clearing everybody of any wrongdoing. And then the president is comfortable. You sitting here, I know you are not happy with that particular issue.
No.
I know deep down your heart.
Fred, are you in Pius's head?
I know Pius.
No.
I know
in his mind.
He's not. See, no, you let me land.
You see,
your president.
Pius, you allow him to land.
Listen, you did that shoddy job. You are proud of it. Ghanaians are happy. We are in this country over 200 trucks, 54 liters of premix got missing. Where is it? What have you done about it? Have you held anybody before any court? Even when allegations were made against Deputy Chief of Staff, I am not blaming them for any wrongdoing. But look at the way and the manner they went about it. The Deputy CID was supposed to be part of the issue and investigation. Today, where is she? What percentage are you sending out there? Is there any surprising that if you look at the corruption percentage index that came out now, you are really doing badly? At least for nothing at all, if new government comes into office, if for nothing at all, you maintain the status quo. You don't fall deep into the abyss. But that's what is happening to you.
No.
Then you now have the confidence to come into on national television and talk about corruption and what your government is doing. Our government, at President Mahama, showed total commitment. All the investigations that you had. And at a point, as Sabaga said, I think that we're not being careful ourselves. Because President Mahama said, okay, let me run an open, transparent government. Let us throw light on wrongdoings in society, on corruption activities to serve as a deterrent. We turned out to blame him for it. We went to World Cup in 2006. We came up. There were several problems. The then president and President Kufuor didn't set up any committee. He kept quiet.
Which problem?
We went to World Cup in South Africa in 2010. We came up. Nobody set up any committee. He decided to set up a committee. Look at what the man did, and they're even accusing him. His minister that people were blaming and pointing fingers at. He didn't even wait for his minister to take up office. Quickly moving to the presidency to open the door for the investigation to be conducted. The same people now turn back and blaming the person who took that very bold decision. Your president has not shown any commitment so far, apart from talking. Why you think Matiami do is all in all when it comes to fighting corruption? I'm happy they've appointed him. I pray and hope that the president will give him the free hand. I pray and hope that it will not be like all the other investigations that have been conducted. Look at even this issue talking about the seat for cash issue. Every member of our society knows that indeed you extorted money from these expatriates.
How?
The evidence is overwhelmingly clear.
The committee said nothing of that.
Even the expatriates themselves.
Well, knowing
you are speaking for
knowing a very vindictive government like you, expect them to come out and say that it's true.
But Fred, are you able to prove that indeed there was extortion?
It is true that they paid
Fred,
money.
are you able to prove it?
Right, we all watch the television. We all watch the committee. Now, when that particular issue started, right from the word go, I said, I have never been happy with any parliamentary committee investigating issues like this. Because if you look at the arrangement itself, it doesn't give you what you want. Especially when the issue is about the government. The majority of the members of the committee are from the government side. The chairman of the committee is from the government side. Naturally, if you even watch it on television, the line of questioning and everything, it was so skewed to exonerate the government and the president and everybody. And so I was not surprised that we have had that now become known as the minority report on the issue. The point we are making is that no president can fight corruption by himself alone. No government must fight corruption alone. It is not enough to be talking about corruption. You must walk the talk. You must show absolute commitment. That this is eating us up. What President Nana Akufo-Addo has done so far since they came into office, I don't think any Ghanaian is happy with his fight against corruption.
Okay.
So it's the rhetoric as usual. 2 minutes.
Fred, I'm grateful. Pius, I'm giving you 2 minutes to react and then we'll move on. Let's go to the daily.
Ordinarily, I would not, because I'm sure that Fred has to do this as a duty to the party. He knows that.
Are you doing that?
Because I would be surprised that you actually believe some of the things you're saying yourself.
Which of
For instance, that there was a World Cup. Did one of the players, when we went to Germany, did you hear any player slap a management team member? Both in Germany and South Africa.
Do you usually slap it? You slap slapping.
Nothing happened.
Your point is that nothing happened in the 2 World Cups you mentioned.
And you see, for me, it is even. Maybe my brother should not. I'm saying that my brother should not even have gone there. That is my ministry.
Yes.
So I know the document you're talking about inside.
Have you read the white paper?
And I'm saying to you that
when they asked the president about the white paper, the president, what the presidency?
Fred, allow me.
Recently asked him about the white paper. He said he has forgotten.
You see, because he knows that he just walked into a landmine, so you do this. Look, very soon, then that white paper was used as a vehicle to actually whitewash. And the people who went to the commission to cry, you know, the commission actually recommended prosecution that His Excellency the President said no to. The people rather that the former president
no.
by the white paper.
You can prove that.
I have the document.
I have the document right here on my phone. I can show you. What you are saying at the white paper. I have it.
But I'm saying that the white paper.
I have the report.
Listen,
the white paper. The committee's report right here. If what he says is not true.
We will publish this.
Fred, he's making allegation. Since you are here, you allow him. You are saying that
the white paper,
the former president,
the recommendation,
said no to prosecution.
The recommendations of the Justice Jamafel Commission,
or the commission,
the commission report,
okay,
made several recommendations, including prosecution of corrupt party officials.
Which party officials?
Like your former ministers.
The report is here. The report didn't indict the minister at the time for any wrong.
Well,
you can't do this. You are in the ministry. If there is any such thing, put in the public domain.
Yes,
if that report is there, then it means that
but you see,
Mr. Amidu would have it.
Yes, Mr. Amidu will have it.
When the president
what they have done is to, because the white paper is law now, they have intelligently used the white paper to rubbish the work of the commission. That's what they did, and they picked up.
So nothing can be done.
I'm saying that committee amounts the ruling of that white paper.
The white paper
is actually law, and so we are compelled, and that's why we are forced to implement some of the recommendations of the white paper.
If you have evidence that the committee recommended prosecution, but you can't use that.
No, but I'm saying that there's a white paper.
So the white paper nullifies.
Exactly. It is the position of the white paper that we need to implement. I'm saying that they used it to whitewash. But we will come to that matter differently.
Let them publish the white paper and the report of the committee.
We have been in power for a year. We are seeing results. The fight against corruption. How long has this prosecution been going on? Forever. And I'm talking to you about the attitude. And you check. from your reporters who go to court? How many times prosecutors...
the trial of Shatrizi Kata started
far back in 2000. How many times prosecutors did not show up in court? Then he comes around and says... Then he comes around and says that... Then he comes around and says that... He comes around and says that... Oh, is it the office of the president who sends prosecutors to court? Now, when BNI investigates, that one, he puts the blame on the president. Is it the office of the president who directs the BNI? So sometimes I really truly do not understand how
to investigate.
Okay, I am grateful. The point is made. Let's turn to the Daily Guide. Gentlemen, I am grateful. There's a story here on page 8. ECG reforms will make power cheaper. The acting president of the Millennium Challenge Corporation, Jonathan Nash, has indicated that ongoing power reforms will make electricity cheaper and accessible. Now, Mr. Nash was speaking to the president at a session where he described President Akufo-Addo's first year in office as successful, and the MCC boss was hopeful the Millennium Challenge Compact 2 agreement will have positive impact on the Ghanaian economy, especially in the area of cheaper energy. Mr. Nash stressed that under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo, $498 million, that's the MCA Compact, will help Ghana transform its power sector through private sector participation, and the ensuing policy and institutional reforms will provide more reliable and affordable power to businesses and households, as well as boost the nation's economy. And that's the story. The president on his part told Mr. Nash that Ghana will ensure that it meets the September 2018 deadline for the implementation of the Compact 2, which will mean the release of the remainder $198 million by the corporation to the country. So that's the conviction of the Millennium Challenge Compact, that once ECG is reformed, power prices will be cheaper. Paz, let me begin with you. This issue of electricity tariffs, the last thing we heard was for the tariffs to go down in January. Are you able to tell what has happened to that?
Well, thank you very much, my brother. Let me begin by, first of all, admitting that it is our considered view that a reduction in prices of utilities are a practical way to make life easy for the people of any country. And that is why I am particularly happy that this government appears to be taking the steps towards reducing utility prices, and not only for electricity. You know, even in the petroleum sector, taxation that was imposed by the SWAL NDC in margins of about 17.5%, which when we came back has been reduced. Now I think it's about 13%, and so on and so forth, or 4.5% reduction. Levies on some of the petroleum products have been reduced to zero, making some savings, and so on and so forth. These are practical ways that governments can help mitigate the social and economic impact of sometimes things that we do not control, like the international crude price and so on and so forth. So it is good that the government is taking steps to reduce utility prices. It is good that they have done same for fuel. What it means is that a friend was suggesting to me that if change had not come, we would have been paying more than we are paying today for fuel, because the taxes would not have been reduced, and so on and so forth. Interest rates would not have been stabilized, would have been paying more. So I am happy. I can only encourage managers in those areas to even do more than they are doing now. Without doubt, they are doing fantastic. They are doing well. They are on the right path.
That will include reforming the corporation itself.
That's right. And that's why I am happy that such endorsements are not coming from MPP, Deputy Minister Pius Enamajide, and for my brother Fred to say that I am praise-singing myself, but this is coming from no
the boss
less.
of the MCC.
That's right. And these are credible international watchers who are minded by the investments that other countries are making into our country. And they are not under any obligation to maybe massage our ego, because we don't pay them. They bring the money here. They don't owe it to us to sweet talk us. I do not see what the benefits will be. So these are people who will tell it as it were. And for him to admit that the reforms that are ongoing, the reforms that are being talked about, will go a long way to reduce power cost. For me, it's good, and I think that we should continue treading the path that we are continuing. We know that by law it is the PURC that sets these targets, utility prices and rates. But we also know that the people of Ghana entrusted the president to engage on their behalf, and that the president can make proposals, and the law does have space for those proposals to be made by even Mr. Fred Agbenyo here. And I would have thought that being an responsible opposition that is bent on keeping government on its toe, these are the critical matters of concern for the NDC. Now they have time on their hands, instead of going to do one-man unity works and so on and so forth. They can really do some serious work and make proposals, okay? Because now they have a lot of time on their hands. They don't have to run around this country and doing all the wonderful things that this government is doing. So His Excellency the President, even with the busy schedule of government and all that, is the one who is still making proposals to the PURC. And I am aware that the PURC has seriously considered His Excellency's proposal, and they are very soon, or if they haven't even done it already, I haven't checked, but the last time I checked, they were just about announcing the new tariffs, if they haven't done so already. And so we will wait to see
what happens.
But clearly, it's good that everybody across the world thinks that we are on the right path and that we are leading, our actions are going to lead to a reduction in power prices and utility rates and tariffs and so on and so forth.
Let me quickly draw in this. If you read the story, the president is suggesting that Ghana is ready to meet the September 2018 deadline for the implementation of the key agreements in the compact. But we know that MEDA has moved the September deadline to December 2018. Perhaps the president is not aware of this movement of the deadline. Do you have any idea about it?
No. It only tells you that the president has his targets, the MEDA has their targets.
All right.
The president's target doesn't conflict with MEDA's targets.
Okay.
The president wants to even do this in September. MEDA is saying that, well, you can take it to December. You understand? So it tells you that this is a president that is focused on, and the man says he's in a hurry. And this is not the first time. And so if the target is for September, and MEDA wants to review it to December, the president may be intimating that, look, we are working towards the September target, okay? So it is better to work towards the September target, and if something happens, and we are not able to meet it,
all right,
then we can take it further. But the compact, I quickly just want to say that everybody admits that the MCC compact with respect to ECG has been greatly looked at, and now it benefits the Ghanaian people more, including ECG workers. And that is why, if you have noticed, the position of ECG workers towards the previous proposal
seem to have changed.
It was seem to have changed because now government has actually considered their view and incorporated it.
Fred, I'll bring you in, but let me get Johnny to take some comment before I bring in. There is time, Fred, don't worry, there is time.
Good morning, Johnny and the panel. Sanitation issues in Ghana is very bad. Government of Ghana refuses to support and equip sanitary health inspectors. Even their salaries are nothing to take home and to boast of. Sent Amuzu, Solo, Oscar, and Georgia Volta region. Mark Hamini in the UK says the abysmal performance of Ghana in the latest corruption perception index by the Transparency International is very worrying situation, and it's shame to all of us as a nation. And this is not a time for blame game. There's the need for all state agencies in fighting to adopt a holistic and pragmatic approach in dealing with the canker, because the canker is depriving Ghana the needed development. The approval of Martin Amidu by Parliament as a special prosecutor is timely, and let's all support him to make corruption unattractive. And to those who engage in it, today's Gina judgment case is a test case. Okay, good morning, sir. In fact, I'm very disappointed in Ghanaians who are pleading for Abu Gapele 6-year sentences, and also the NDC MP statement that they will release him if NDC wins 2020 election. Oh, Ghana. So does it mean people who used gun to rob are only criminals in this country that deserves punishment? Are those armed robbers also, don't they also have families and people that they are taking care of? Does it mean that Mahama's NDC government supports looting and sharing of Ghanaian money because the culprit didn't use gun? What kind of discriminative hypocrisy are we experiencing now in this country? Okay, thank you very much. Chagos in someone says, I hope this upcoming NPP election becomes peaceful and successful, because the way some of the constituency executives are behaving in some of the various constituencies is not encouraging at all. Okay, you wish them luck. Kwesi Reynolds from Agona Odobing says, Ghanaians have seen the mindset of the NDC and are going to punish them during every election. How can you support thievery and corruption in the system, even though the perpetrators are in your party? Neil Lanti, with his utterances, must not even be allowed to stay in the August House. I cry for Mother Ghana. Regards to Chairman Freddie Blair. Hello, TV3, Johnny. The majority of our politicians predominantly are into politics to fill up their pockets. The quickest way to make money here in Ghana is to join a political party and manage to get a position, and you'll be singing all the way to the bank. If you get caught, you have flimsy defense and support of your mates. This is old, sad fact. Elijah Busiame. Good morning, New Day crew. You people are doing a marvelous job. Keep it up. Quotation from Aseseso Equiapem. Okay, good morning to everybody. The military doesn't get funds from the government to keep up our barracks. We clean and maintain the barracks on our own. The government doesn't stay there with us for us to wait upon him to come give us money to clean our barracks. The police can use the prisoners or the cell inmates to clean the place. I agree with you, my brother from the barracks. Abdul Basit Zongo Pania Kumasi says, I'm not surprised about Neil Antivanderpoel's careless and support for corrupt act of NDC jailed officials, because he supports causing financial loss to the state. Ghana is working again under my able President Ado, and congratulations to all winners and better luck to those who lost the MPP. We'll read some of your messages, but let's turn our attention to Bright now.
Johnny, I'm grateful
Thank
once
you very
again.
much.
Fred, so let's quickly deal with this. The power tariffs and reforming ECG. We're told that after reforms, we're likely to see a drop in the tariffs.
Well, Bright, it is true that we used to have a levy. I think we still have a levy on petroleum product. That was about 17.5%.
Right.
At the time that was 17.5%, petrol was sold in this country for 14 Ghana cedis per gallon.
No.
Today they claim they have
Correct.
reduced. Can you allow me, please?
No, but it's not correct.
Today you can check. These are further available. Today they said they have reduced to 13%. Today, let's even assume that it's even 20 cedis. Let's even assume that it's
by
even
the 7th of January
can you allow
2017, when we took over.
Can you allow me? When I was talking about
18
Bright,
Ghana cedis,
that is
14.
not true. You can check this in Google it. Google it and check. Let me continue.
You are keeping.
You
Let me
mean
continue.
7th January 2016, petrol was 18 cedis?
Yes.
Okay. That is not correct.
You bought yours
it
at
is
18
correct.
cedis.
It's
That is not
Or
true.
you think you
I've checked. I've checked.
What you
I've
bought is
gone through
18
it.
cedis?
Yes.
Okay.
18 cities, and they have deliberately pushed
are-
misinformation
you are
out into the
deputy
system.
minister.
40
You
cities,
are
40. It's
deputy
not
minister.
correct.
So you are
We need
deputy
to expose.
minister.
We need to expose the
That
propaganda.
which means that the liter was about 4 cedis.
Yes,
Can you
4
allow me
cities.
to make my
2016.
submission?
Yes,
7
4 cities per
January.
liter. So you multiply.
The liter was
by
Brad,
you know it is not true. So why are you
multiply by
No,
4.5.
Fred,
But
it's
you know
okay.
it is not true.
But
You know
that is how
man-
much he bought it. So
But
that's
you know
okay.
it is not true. You know it is not true.
It
Our
is very
viewers
true.
know it is not
Fred,
true.
you go
The
on.
point I'm making is that
Even at the time that so that's lie about it.
At the time that the price was 17.5, petrol was sold at 14 cedis per gallon in this country. Today you claim you have reduced to 13%.
It's not 13%.
And now the price of petrol is 22 Ghana cedis.
Yeah, because of international crude price.
Please, what is international crude price? At the time the price was falling, now the price is going up, and we are also exporting products. So what argument are you making?
Please allow Fred to go.
So impatient.
Fred, please go on.
Ghanaians are watching you. Truck drivers are watching you. Taxi drivers are watching you. If today they are better off per the price of petroleum product, everybody is watching us. If you think you are, I know you don't buy fuel, so you don't understand. But the truck driver is screaming. He's screaming. You get free coupons.
No,
the point is,
you think we are like
Fred, he buys fuel.
Ministers don't buy fuel. We do. Right. We do. It doesn't buy fuel. It doesn't buy telephone credits. Let me proceed. Right.
Maybe the NDC ministers
Millennium Challenge.
We buy fuel.
Yeah,
Fred. Pius, please allow Fred.
This Millennium Challenge account, MIDA and the ECG concession and whatever it is, I have always had problem with these things. I remember Aquaviters when they came into this country. They told us they were coming to revive our water sector, they are going to do so much investment. Everybody was happy about it. What happened eventually? We didn't see any much investment. The price of water went up. So I don't know what is going to be different with this particular MIDA arrangement. They are claiming that by the time they restructure ECG, it will come down. Where you and I are sitting today, having lived in this country for all these years, I am not too sure. I am not too sure that Ghanaians are going to experience any reduction in tariffs. I am not too sure because these are private entities. These are private entities. Their motive is profit. They are coming in to make profit. So if you tell me that they are not going to reduce the price of utility prices, I have my absolute doubt about it.
No,
in any case, you promise at the government at the time that Ghanaians were paying too high, the grade were paying too high, and that when you came into office, we are going to reduce it. Where we sit now, you've not done any reduction. People can still not pay water bill. Electricity is running like a ton boat. You buy the credit and the next 2 hours it is finished.
Electricity?
I'm telling you the truth. Talk to Ghanaians. You buy the thing is just running just like that. You have not done anything about it. We are not interested in all this. Oh,
Pius, you are not talking again. I have wrapped up the conversation.
Ghanaians are not interested in all this thing. By the time we finish restructuring,
all right,
do it. We want to see it. Reduce the prices now. But that's the promise you made. That is a social contract you entered with the people of this country. You are doing that otherwise. Right. That is what you said.
Pius, we are ending February. But January the prices were said that were told that they will go down. The president said that
you have a president who has usurped the power of
January.
Yeah, but that is responsible.
For the first time,
today
did you hear what they said here? When MIDA has reviewed their timetable, saying that they will do this implementation by December, our president is in his office and says September. You ask him and he's telling you that our president is in hurry. It's not the president in what is happening in the country.
All right.
He doesn't know what MIDA
Gentlemen, I am grateful. Fred Agbenyo is a deputy communications director of the NDC, pardon me, and Pius Hajide is a deputy minister of youth and sports. I'm grateful, gentlemen, for your time. Stay with us if you send in comments. We'll read the rest.
Let's go into the quarters of the Ghana Standards Authority. We're joined by the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Dodo. Chief, good morning.
Morning.
And how are you doing? Happy New Year, belated though. We've not met this year.
We haven't. Yep.
We haven't, yes. Prof, last year, the Ghana Standards Authority launched the Laboratory Standards Guide in September of last year. What has happened after that?
Okay, the Laboratory Standards Guide, basically the standards you expect in a modern medical laboratory, was launched by the GSA in collaboration with the Ghana Health Service, as well as the US CDC. Okay, we call it ISO 15189. It's just a number. It's supposed to guide what a modern laboratory should have in terms of approaches, the systems. I know there's been a lot of questions as to how many laboratories have that accreditation. Very few.
Very few, as in how many?
You can count them on the finger. On one hand, sorry.
Okay.
So what I would say is that the Association of Private Medical Labs have come to see us, that they want to go through that process. So it's fair to say that most of the labs in the country, majority, indeed more than 90%, do not have that accreditation.
Okay.
It is something which has been worrying everyone, including the Ghana Health Service. And that was the basis for the Ghana Health Service supporting us and the USCDC.
How dangerous is this, knowing that the guidelines are supposed to ensure competence, quality of practice, and that 90% do not have it? How worrying is it? Tell me.
Very worrying. Very worrying, but I think I'd like to see it as progress being made, because much as one would not want to excuse anything which is not ongoing, for 60 years we haven't had it. Now we have it. My belief is that what is the way forward? And the way forward must be that all medical laboratories, whether they're in the public sector or the private sector, should be working towards getting the type of accreditation that will give confidence to yourself and myself. Because looking at it at the basic level, all of us...
what goes into setting up these laboratories, for example? I know that you for a long time was doing pharmacovigilance and all of those. So anybody gets up because they have money and they have expertise, they put up laboratories. It seems to be a worrying trend that's growing. How is the ordinary person protected? So I'm told to go and do a medical test. I see a laboratory, I walk into it, but I don't know if I'm signing my death warrant.
I'll start with the good news. The good news is that 10 years ago, laboratories were just springing up, and it's right to say that they were just operating without much oversight. Now we have the Health Facilities Regulatory Authority, which has been set up, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. It's just kicking up, and people are aware now. Secondly, now we have the laboratory standards. The next logical step is to ensure that those laboratories without those standards, or those laboratories not operating both in terms of the law and in terms of their processes, are really flashed out. Flashed out, I would say, because you are right in saying one thing. How many cases of whatever condition have we had where the issue has not been the person, but the lab? And you cannot rule that out. You cannot rule that out. So all of us, myself included, yourself included, has to worry. But we were worried to the point that we said, look, what do we need to do? And what we said is that we need to be sure that from the time your sample is received to the time it's processed, to the results given to you, it follows a process that happens in every good country. To the extent that it hasn't happened, it's worrying. But I'm happy to see.
Do we have timelines for this? Because I remember that when you launched the standards guidelines last year in September, you said that every laboratory was going to receive a copy. Do we know if every laboratory in this country has a copy?
The private labs, those who belong to the association, and I'm saying that carefully because not all belong, came and purchased for their members.
What about those who are not? They are operating in the system anyway. They need it, don't they?
I think one of the challenges in the country, and it's something that I am determined should be corrected, is that there would always be roles which seem to be duplication. Standards Authority has established a standard. It needed to be taken forward by an appropriate agency. But in the absence of anything happening, it's important that if we are setting standards, we make the country aware of the standards and make the country aware of those who meet the standards, which means that by default, the country will be aware of those who do not meet the standards. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it will be very fruitless just to say we have a standard if it's not impacting on the lives of people. And I think that is the new mindset we should all have, that the things we are supposed to do as government workers, government officials, government appointees, are to serve Ghanaians.
Have we started having that conversation?
Oh, we have.
And where have we gotten to with that conversation?
Well, so currently with the Standards Authority, there are 3 big areas we set standards for. Products, which is straightforward. But less known is processes and services. And our view is that all these 3 impact on the way Ghanaians live and operate. And you and I would agree that most of these areas, nothing is happening. So if you come to the products and probably measurements, because the law also makes us considerance of weights and measures, we have said that come this year, when we verify petrol stations, gas stations, if the volumes delivered is low, we'll go back to check again. If we have the same problem happening in the same place more than once, we would publish the names.
ASEP says that you could have gone for stricter regulations and standards at the filling stations. They said that as far back as 2016, they said in 2017. I'm sure they will say it in 2018 because nothing is happening.
A lot is happening. What I would say to ASAP is that I believe that the current laws are sufficient. Yes, we are revising the standards bill, but that should not be an excuse. You know, if you read the law and interpret it,
if the law exists, sorry, Prof, if the law exists, out of the law emanates policy, out of that emanates enforcement, or if you like, implementation. If the law exists and yet we can't feel the law, what's the essence of the law?
So my view is that it's all about enforcement. And my view, definitely, the GSC with my team, our view currently is that if we don't enforce, then what's the point?
Are the enforcers failing us?
I wouldn't say the enforcers are failing us. I would say
Why
that...
Why would you not say that?
I wouldn't say that because there are so many areas where, because of the way we have evolved and our laws have come, classical example, if you look at petrol station, is it the NPA or is it a GSA? Fortunately, we've sat down, we've had a chat, and we said, look, if the aim is to protect Ghanaians, it doesn't matter who does it, for as long as we share the data in real time. And so these are some of the challenges we have faced, and that is part of the way we have developed in our democracy. But where we are now, my view seriously, is that if we are going to move into our industrial transformation agenda, then everything which must be done now.
Do the standards exist at all?
Ghana has more standards than you can ever imagine.
Are we working with them?
I don't see that.
Not at all.
And not
from where you sit.
Not from where I sit. Even awareness of the standards are not there, and that is a problem for the GSE. We should be pushing the standards. I mean, I told someone we have standards for Hausa Koko. The one was laughing, but it's true. We have standards for Hausa Koko.
So let's talk about Standard 1586, for example, of 1994. That talks about the banning of the importation of second-hand clothing, LPG, gas cylinders.
That was the LI, yeah.
Yes, these are things that are there. Why don't we see an implementation, an enforcement of these? We find mattresses out there. Go to La Paz, go to Dakuman. You find the mattresses, second-hand mattresses all over the place. Panties, brassieres, singlets, boxer shorts. So embarrassing.
I will take this from this angle. You are so right in your description. It's always very, very difficult to talk about things that have been done wrong without appearing to be painting brushes. Be that as it may, the situation today is wrong. And we have said that the law is clear. The law is not even, it's in black and white. I have categorically said that if there is one cylinder of second-hand LPG coming into this country, between GSA and customs, we have an answer to give to Ghanaians. You know, I believe this country has reached a stage where I call these sort of actions...
It takes me back to my earlier question, Prof. You have the standards. You have said this must not be done. At the borders, the Ghana Revenue Authority, Customs Division must ensure that these things don't get in. And they do get in. So are the enforcers failing us?
I wouldn't put it just on the standards, on the revenue authorities. You know what I'll say?
No, tell me.
And this is where I'm starting from, being inward looking first within the GSA. The laws of Ghana are clear. We represent the Ministry of Trade. We are supposed to be at the port. We are supposed to show what can go out or not go out. If anything goes out, because customs have collected their revenue and have allowed it to go, my job is to ask customs that, wait a minute, did I approve for this to go out? In the past, state agencies have led all its customs. No. I believe the law is very clear. The law was that revenue is a separate matter. But public protection of patients, is also there.
What kind of collaboration exists between you and other enforcers?
I would say currently quite a lot. Currently, because we never used to have interactions. In January this year, I went to meet the Commissioner, GRA Customs Division, with his deputy commissioners, and we all agreed that everyone has a role. Their role is revenue, and we should not unduly prevent products from being cleared. However, our role is patient protection. And we've agreed, and we actually are making it into a ministerial order between our minister and their minister.
I'm looking at the law, the LI 1586, 1994, and it says that, for example, if you import these things, punishment is 500,000, that's old currency, that's 50 Ghana cedis now, and a jail term of 1 year. Is it punitive enough to deter other people from wanting to engage in it?
Okay, now it's been turned into a penalty unit. My view, and I've already taken one such action. For instance, you see some of these products. In the past, the answer was that you could say, let them be re-exported. My view, and here I'm interpreting it within Ghanaian law and international law, that if this product is so bad, I'm not going to let you re-export it to the country of origin. You're going to ban it. You're going to destroy it.
So, last year, the Cable Dealers Association had a bone to pick with you. You said that, well, close to 80% of the cables we had are substandard. They challenged that claim, and they said, no, you are getting it wrong. What has happened since then?
Oh, we called them for a meeting and gave them the raw data, everything we've done, and they agreed.
So then what next?
So moving forward, the cable dealers have actually demanded, coming from them, for two things.
Okay.
That where possible, we should check cables before they are even loaded for coming to Ghana. Number two, for us to publish on our website, and that is going live on the 1st of April. You have all registered dealers and the cables that have been registered by us. Thirdly, our view is that by the end of June this year, when you buy every cable, there should be something on it which tells you that the GSA has approved it. If not, you buy at your own risk.
130 lives have been lost in January alone, and we're told that most of the accidents are mechanical faults. It goes to feed into the concept of importation of second-hand vehicles in this country. What is your role? What are we doing about it? Go around town, and we're told bluntly that these are accident vehicles. If the country of origin is rejecting it, why are we collecting it here?
I think TV3 has asked a difficult question. I will throw the question out there. What happens?
No, I'm asking you.
Yeah, I would answer it by throwing it out there. I'll give you two things: what the law in Ghana says, and what my view is, because we are a law-abiding country. Currently, the DVL is in charge of all these things.
Okay.
But if you look at most countries, and one country will be Cote d'Ivoire. If you come with second-hand vehicles, they need to be tested at the port.
Right.
Usually, either before shipment or on arrival.
Does that happen?
Not in Ghana.
Okay.
In Abidjan, it happens. So by the time the vehicle comes out, it doesn't have just that DVLA plate, but it has a plate showing that it's been tested for the key things, and you can use that number plate, I think, for 2 or 3 months. Why is that useful? If you're going to let a vehicle come in, second-hand, accident, whatever, which doesn't meet the minimum standards, and it has to drive from Takoradi or Tema all the way into town for a few weeks before seeking DVLA registration, we are shooting ourselves in the foot.
Growing number of alcoholic beverages, bitters, to what standard are they held? Every week we get a new product. What role do you play in it? Do you hold them to any strict standard proof?
The Food and Drugs Authority registers them. They will normally register according to a Ghana standard if one exists.
Okay.
If one doesn't exist, they will use what exists globally.
Okay.
As we speak, the FDA formally has requested for us to come up with standards for Ghanaian bitters.
Okay.
And if a product meets the standards, then they will have other considerations. But if it doesn't meet the standard, it will not be registered at all.
Is this standard ready now, as we speak?
No, it's not.
It's not. When is it ready?
It's difficult to tell, because we need to establish a standard by having a committee of users, producers, everybody. Somebody has to pay for it. And I would say, in the scheme of things, much as it's urgent, it doesn't fall into the top 10 for us this year. We are looking at a building code. As we speak, by the end of April this year, there'll be a new building code. Since 1960, we always get to the end. This year, we got to the end with support from the World Bank and other partners, and there was no funding. My view and the view of my board was that, no, we are not going to stop. We are going round. So they have finished meeting, and you know what that means?
No.
And just to sort of shock you, how many buildings, especially private buildings in Ghana, are tested at any stage of construction?
You must ask.
And I'm saying this because you spend all your money to put up a building. You don't check the soil, you don't check the foundation, you don't test the walls, you don't do anything. You finish, the cables themselves that you buy, you don't know, and then you move in, and then you just call a priest, he prays, and you think happily ever after. I think science and knowledge has grown where this should be stopped. So our view is that from the day we pass the building code, from the very first day, we want Ghanaians to be aware that please don't put your investment at risk.
Right.
If you are putting up a building, test the soil, because some soils are just not good unless you've done something to it. The foundation must be tested and certified.
Right.
It's not going to be mandatory.
The lands are scarce all over the place. Housing deficit is all over the place. And you want people to what? Test and do what?
I want them to be sure that the investment they are putting into their houses would last their lifetime. How many of us have not put up a building only to come and see the cracks in the building dancing? And one is not safe.
Right.
The number of buildings collapsing in Ghana, for public buildings, I'm happy to see that the key government agencies have told us that now, and I'm 99.9% certain that there will be no procurement for public works which will not demand all these things.
That they be tested. Are we
at every stage.
Are we investing that same commitment into, for example, the location behind the ICGC that's been named by the Daily Mail, the world's biggest newspaper, to be the most toxic location on planet Earth? E-waste is there. I'm sure you've seen it. You heard about it. Are you investing commitment into that as well?
Yes. We have environmental standards. I did tell you that we are here for health, safety, and the environment. The laws we set up have said so. Now, that is an issue that must be dealt with.
How soon?
Does it fall under the remit of the Standards Authority?
How soon are we dealing with it, Professor Dodo?
The question I'm asking is that much as it's not our remit, it was with the AMA and other agencies, I believe that our job is to raise that issue. That this does not meet the standards.
How soon are we raising that issue, Professor Dodo?
I think as far as we are concerned, we've raised it now. We have been working with the EPA. What we do is to do a lot of writing to state agencies and ask them for issues. And our hope is that they will take it up. Has it reached a stage where one can boom? I'm realizing that once you start working formally, not in a university, but in a government agency, your avenues for seeking correction have to be more nuanced. So it's got to go through my bosses, usually your minister. But we are not being stopped. Nothing has been stopping us, but it's just a lot of letter writing.
Is there hope for them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think my view is that the hope is the hope for Ghana. If we have standards, and I would want to be held accountable to that. If we don't bring the standards to Ghanaians and don't enforce the standards, then I'm sorry, there's no point for some of us being there.
Professor Alex Dodo, it looks like a Herculean task, but I wish you well.
Thank you very much.
I wish you well. And we'll be back with some more here on New Day. Shocking revelations there. You get it only on TV3 after this break. Welcome back and thank you very much. I've been joined by the Honorable Godfrey Tangu. He's the Bayon. He's the MP for Wa East constituency. But before that, let's get into Kolon, the constituency and a community out there where water is a prized commodity. My colleague Brighton Anamfo has been finding out why a borehole that was constructed a long time ago is yet to produce its first drop of water.
The community contributes 100 million. So, and we drill a borehole. It was water, but we don't have money to buy the hairs and then the pipes.
Over 400 people live here. The excitement is only because they have visitors. The community is quiet when there are no visitors, and there is virtually no activity. This is due to inadequate social amenities. There is no health facility here. A 30-minute walk or a 10-minute ride on a bike will take residents to Yala for health care. For pregnant women of Kulung, drinking this water is a danger because the facility can't take care of them properly. In this difficulty, water is a challenge. Getting the commodity is a headache. This is the only source. They would never pray for the dry season to come because the season is a nightmare in the search for water.
This is what residents of Kulung here in the Upper West region rely on. This is the only source, and at this time of the year when it is dried up, there is indeed a huge problem for them. Women, children, and everyone in the community relies on this kind of water from this stagnant pool. It starts from right behind me and trips here, and it gathers. I'm told that it takes hours for it to gather to the level that it can be scooped into their receptacles or containers. Residents of Kulung are really distressed. Water is a prized commodity, a challenge they are battling to deal with. They rely on this for household chores. I doubted at being told that this is indeed the water used for drinking. Then I got the shock of my life. Even children were given some to drink. They had made effort to dig a borehole, but had been unsuccessful. A last-minute effort, however, yielded some water, but resources had run out. To get pumps to bring out the water, some more funding was needed to finish the work.
We don't have money to buy the hairs and then the pipes. So the contractor told us that we should find 30 million. So we want to contact the DCE. And the DCE too, he said that he will come. We follow him up to date. So we went to the Funsi Assemblyman. We contacted him that he should send us to MP at Accra. MP said he have called the DCE and give him the go ahead. So he called the DCE and the DCE to say that he's going to Tamale. That after he returned, that he will come.
They therefore had to continue relying on this unwholesome water for use. Several appeals in the past for help did not yield any results.
Now, water is a very, very huge problem here. Now, right now, they have to walk about 1 kilometer before they can get to the source of water. And even when they get to the source of water, they are scrambling for the water of animals. So the animals also go there to look for the same water, the same source of water, and that's where the animals also drink from.
The District Assembly is ready to step in. The promise is that Kulun's water challenge will be fixed.
They have initiated a borehole and then they hit water and reported to Assembly. So when it was reported to Assembly that they themselves have initiated a borehole and they had water, I went to the community myself, went and saw the borehole. So I asked them to actually provide details of the one who drilled the borehole so that I will contact him to find out about the yield of the borehole so that the Assembly will take it up and complete for them. So for now, we are ready to support them to complete the borehole for them. Once we have made several attempts and could not get water, and they themselves have now been able to drill and hit water, we are ready to take it up and complete it.
The only source they could rely on is dried up. The community lives close to the Kulun River. In October 2017, the river had water.
3 months ago in October, I stood at this very same place, the Kulun River. This is the shores of the Kulun River. There was indeed water. Vehicles had to struggle to get to the other side. Motorbikes had to do the same. 3 months on in February, it is totally dried up. The river has been cut into pieces. Communities that lie on the banks of the river rely on it for consumption, but now they have to struggle to even get a little that is left in the river.
With the river dried up and no rains expected till May, residents of Kulun would have to wait for the borehole to be fixed before they can access clean water for use. Brighton and Anfo, TV3.
And that's Brighton and Anfo's report as part of our Missions Ghana projects supported by Star Ghana with funding from UK Aid, the European Union and the Danida as well. Thank you very much, Honourable Godfred Tangu Bayon and before Wise for joining me. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the plight of your people out there. They have done their bit, gotten the borehole. Okay. They need just the top. Can we make a promise to them to deliver them from this? I couldn't tell Fula, the drink, Fula, from water, what they are drinking.
That is true. Yeah, thank you very much, my brother. Kulun has been one of the unfortunate communities in the district. In fact, the Assembly has done a lot of boreholes all across the district. But unfortunately, the water table in Kulung happens not to be good.
Right.
And so several attempts, as indicated by the DC, have been made, but unsuccessful. And so even during the last elections, it was a problem to approach the community because they were so pent up. They said they wouldn't understand why they could not have water. And so we had to go begging them and making them to understand that at least they should vote so that we'll try as much to see how we can.
It's been more than a year after the elections.
Is
there help coming to them? They have the
Yes,
borehole.
yes,
They need just the
yes.
top. Can you make them a commitment to get that for them?
It's true. When I came into office, immediately I was able to get 6 boreholes from the Ministry of Water and Sanitation. And Kulung happens to be one of the communities that are fixed to benefit from it. But then, at a point, they called me and they were making the complaints. Then, of course, as an MP, I have to collaborate with the district assembly. I don't have to do things haphazardly. So I called the DC. This is what your people are. In fact, the DC happens to come from that area. This is what your people are complaining. And you know this story. Then he said, yes, they have actually told him that they were successful in drilling the borehole themselves. And so what was left was the pump head.
Where is it? Where is it? Whose job is it to get them? You made a promise to them before the election that when you come into power, this will end. 1 year after, no show.
That particular borehole, I didn't initiate it. It is the community itself that initiated it.
Can you help them to complete it?
Why not? And that is exactly why immediately they called me. I called the DC to see what was happening, that borehole, the head, it couldn't be gotten. He said, no, he has gone to the community, he has seen the borehole, and like he's saying, definitely you have to find out the water yield of a borehole before fixing such a thing. Otherwise, you may do it and it's something else.
So what have you found? What is the
He
water
says-
yield? What does it look like?
Well, he hasn't told me what it is, but he says that they are ready to buy the borehole. Even yesterday, in the evening, I still talked with him.
How ready are they? How soon can they?
He
Look,
says
this
today.
This is appalling.
He says today he will be in office and he will make sure they release the money to the contractor. This was what he told me yesterday.
So if he doesn't do it, what would you do as an MP?
If he doesn't do it, I will look into my common fund and also see how I can procure it for them.
I'm asking these questions, Honorable, because you made the people a promise. They didn't want
Yes.
to vote. You told them that
Yes.
vote for me
Yes.
when I come. And
But-
1 year drinking this,
But
the
you
repercussions.
know, this has not been a new problem. It
Yes,
has been an old
but we
problem.
cannot continue
But
like
what
that.
I'm saying
Change
is,
has come, hasn't it?
of course, it has come. But when it's a process, if the minister has promised that they will give 6 boreholes to my constituency or my district, and I fix one for Kulung, definitely I cannot go and force Minister of Sanitation
Can
to
you,
jump.
can you, for example, Honorable, as an egalitarian, decide that, oh, every month when I get my money from Parliament, I'll take 10% of it, put it together, and do this for Kulung? Can you do that?
That is not even taking my own salary or something, because at least some common funds do come to me.
They come in late all the time.
Yes, sometimes. That is the problem that we are faced with. Otherwise, I think the stage that they have reached, I don't think we have...
Do you feel their pain? The people of Kulung,
They
do
are
you
my
feel their
people,
pain?
and I feel it very much. They are very hospitable to me, and have worked with them over the years.
But this is not acceptable. Children are drinking this, worms, diseases
You see,
of all kinds.
Kulung happens to be a community that is surrounded by rivers. Unfortunately, in our area, the one is dry season, the rivers all run down. But even that one is not supposed to be
I'm looking
drunk.
for solution right now for the people of Kulung. We've gone there, we show you the water levels.
Yes.
And now in the dry season, how the water is gone.
Yeah.
We want immediate solution for them. Can we put timelines to it?
Very well. The DC has said he's going to office today to release the money.
26th of February.
Yes, let's believe that he will do that. And even after here, I'll call him again, because I made him to watch this
Oh, he's
program.
watching.
I
What is
told
his
him
name?
to-
Let's say good morning to him.
Moses Jotia.
Moses Jotia, good morning to you. The people's destiny and their lives rest in your hands. Can you release the money, please, so the people of Kulung can get water to drink? Good morning.
Yes.
So
I believe he will do it, and immediately I leave this place, I'll be on him again so that he releases the money. Because it's only buying the pump head and fixing it. I think that is the problem for now.
That is all?
Yes, for now. Yes, except that maybe that community still doesn't have electricity, that we could talk of mechanizing it.
Right.
But it doesn't have for now.
So aside water, there's also electricity problem.
Yes.
Honorable.
That's not the only place, it's even road.
Because
that's where that river that you are watching, you know, it crisscrosses the roads. A lot of the roads in our area. And so one of the things is how to even bridge them. We have carried this problem over and over, yet the issue of funding has always been the problem. But we are hopeful this time we'll be able to cross some of these rivers. So it's not only water issues. It is about electricity, it is also about the road. These things, if they are done, the whole place will be opened up. Luckily too, the last government started constructing a road from Wale Wale through to Tantale in the northern region and almost into my constituency. And this road is supposed to pass through these communities to Wa. So it means that with that project, those rivers will be crossed.
Right.
And if they are crossed, then the problem would have been solved.
26th of February, Honorable Godfrey Tangu Bayon made a promise to us, MP for Wa East constituency. And as you know, it's my pension. I'll be following up on that promise
very well.
Fair and square. So 26th, we'll be checking with the people of Kulum so we make sure they have clean water to drink. But I thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much,
and this conversation has been made possible via our Missions Ghana project. It's supported by the Star Ghana Initiative and also with funding from Danida, the UK Aid and the European Union. We'll be back with some more enjoy. Potholes everywhere, and this is the innovative way which we're told some Ghanaians have decided to fight back. They are planting right in the heart of the streets, plantain farms, and somebody made a joke that, look, this will not deter government from fixing the potholes. They will rather come and water it every morning, so they'll tell you they are promoting agriculture. But this is it.
Yeah, but this is serious, Johnny. I mean, I don't know.
But Bright, if this is happening in Ghana, let me show you what's happening in Botswana. In Botswana, they are fishing in the potholes. So if you think that the Ghanaians hold the record, the Botswana folks are fishing in their potholes.
Is it golden fish or what?
I don't know, but it looks like tilapia. He's finding tilapia on it. So if you don't fix the potholes, we will find innovative ways. Charlie. Daniel Abuaji's birthday. Happy birthday to Daniel Abuaji. It's your birthday today. And tilapia is been talking about what? It said what? Cartoon. Pele gets red card for wrong tackle on stage. And fight against corruption. Scoreboard stage 0, Lutes 2. This Sibit and Pele. And that's the referee. Who's the referee who's pulling down?
Johnny, we're running into a very serious weekend.
Serious one.
From first match to third match to...
Yeah.
And for me...
Daniel Abuaji, happy birthday to you. First match on Azipopo at the
BN pub. That's where the excitement will be.
All of it.
Holiday, and I guess it's going to be wonderful. Those of you who live around Bubuasi and other parts of Accra, the BN Pub at Bubuasi will have a rollicking weekend moving into the 6-match celebrations. You don't miss it, but I'll be telling you more.